Folks, it's Mark and Bob with Fire Mountain Outdoors. Thanks for joining us today. You know, we're just doing a kind of a cruising, lazy segment here. Bob just brought up some cool guns that I don't know anything about, and he's just going to show them to me and share, and we're going to shoot them. So stay tuned.
And that's why they call me Bad Company. I can't deny.
So today, you know, I just figured we'd take a break from shooting some of these modern sporting arms to taking a look back at some of the ways that you know, that brought us to like the AR-15 that we have today. Back in World War I, this particular weapon is the model 1917 US. This particular one is a Remington.
Now you say 1917, Bob. And I'm not the best at math as anyone that's watched any of our episodes, but if I concentrate in my head, I know that it's 2014 now. So in my head, this design is just 3 years shy of being 100 years old.
This is a 97-year-old weapon. This particular rifle was built in December of 1917.
That is just cool. So it's a 1917 Enfield. Is that what you call it?
Yeah, it's you know, the Enfields were the original design. It was a British firearm, and the United States was building a lot of those, sending them overseas, and somehow there was a shortage of the Springfields, and so they were integrating some U.S. weapons that were chambered in .30-06 and being deployed overseas. The Enfields and stuff, they were .303 caliber, and a lot of these weapons were painted red, and you know, on the fore end, you know, and stamped .30-06 so you'd know what you had.
Right, and I saw a little trace. There's a very faint trace of some red on this one.
There is. And this one doesn't have any foreign markings on it. This one was a U.S. weapon. You know, there are some out there that you can look at and see that have Canadian proof marks on them. But anyway, my great-grandfather, he was a veteran of World War I, and one of the things that kind of intrigued me about this particular weapon is, you know, he may have actually carried this particular type of weapon, or he may have been carrying a Springfield. I do not know. He didn't live long enough to share that information.
You know, I noticed a couple of things, Bob. Obviously, I'm not anywhere near the historian or aficionado of the old military stuff that you are, but I see some similarities that have carried on to our modern weapons. One would be this design of front sight, where the sight is protected by the heavy-duty wings up here, and also the rear that are unique to a military arm versus most sporting arms or hunting weapons, where the sight would just be up by itself. Impressions. You know, the front sight on this is very, very fine. It's not a pin like in the AR. It's a blade. And it's a skinny blade, but I could see that you could do some accurate work with this. I'm looking out at 100 yards and out at the target, and it really seems to be the ideal width for doing target or bad guy target work. But it's kind of weird. It's got a last round bolt hold open, but it's a bolt action gun. That's something that I've never seen on any kind of a sporting arm,
right?
A hunting arm. I guess you don't want that young buck, fresh meat private to just keep. There's got to have some kind of an indicator. Hey, bub, you're out of ammo.
Right. Yeah, you know, they're a great proven design. You know, people still hunt with these today. People still shoot in the M1 Garand matches with these, and they're just a very, very cool, old, heavy weapon.
It is. So, which way is safe, Bob? It doesn't seem to have any nomenclature here telling me which way. It's obviously a two-position safety. Forward to fire.
Forward to fire. Pull it all the way into the rear, and then you're in safe.
And this looks familiar to me because this is a feature, and I'm trying to think of which rifle it is, but I think it's my Ruger. That this is how you would remove your bolt.
Yeah.
by pulling this lever on the side.
Yeah, and I think that design was probably stolen from the Germans because, you know, the German Model 98s that they were using, you know, going back into the 1800s had the same, you know, style or design on the side of it as well.
Huh. Well, that is fascinating. I can see another sight here, Bob. Is that a flip-up sight? Or
It is a flip-up sight.
Oh.
And so if you're going for the ultra-long-range precision shots, you do have another
Man, let me see through
option
that.
for shooting long distances.
We're trying to teach some Kentucky windage into Germany, I can see.
That's right.
Wow. What you got over here, Bob?
Well, the reason I brought this out here, this is the M1 Garand, or Garand, if you so choose to call it that. But they found in World War I, as the war was winding down, that battle tactics were changing. There was more one-on-one, small arms combat going on.
Oh, it's all trenches and nastiness.
It was, and you had the BAR, you know, which was a fully automatic weapon that shot the 30-06 round, and then you had.
And the Germans had the Maxim, didn't they?
They did, and you know, we also had, you know, things like the Peterson device for the Model 1903 that would convert that into an automatic weapon. But they found that, you know, limited capacity with the 5 rounds, they needed something a little bit better, so they started after World War I, like in the early 1920s, like 1922 if I recall correctly. Springfield Armory had a guy working for them by the name of John C. Garand, and he started working up designs of a rifle that he was designing. And by the time 1936 came around, they adopted this particular weapon, the M1 Garand. It had a little bit different gas system on it in 1936, but ultimately it was the same exact weapon. And they, back in those days, you know, they'd have congressmen come to weapon testings, and the congressmen would try out the firearms. And they had, I can't tell you who the congressman is, but I believe out of, you know, like all the rounds that he fired, you know, it was like 30 for 30. He had 30 bullseyes. And, you know, his vote was ultimately, yes, we need the Garand in service. And, you know, so they had the NRA is there. They've got congressmen. They've got all sorts of constituents. And, you know,
they had politicians that knew what was going on.
They did, you know, and they were helping make these decisions on what the weapons are. Now you have just this underground crew that works in the back. It's like, well, I think it needs this, and that's what we're going to use.
Right.
And back then it was a more hands-on approach where
Sure.
people were deciding those things. So, you know, so you've got semi-automatic. This used a clip.
It is a clip.
It is a clip.
And an authentic use of the term clip.
It is.
So is this. This one has a 5-round clip.
Right.
That one has an
is
8-round clip.
The 8-round end block. And so you took a weapon that was firing 5 shots, and you had to rack the bolt every single time, to something that now had 8 shots, and you didn't have to manually, you know, load that round into the chamber every time. So you could fire off 8 rounds a whole lot faster than you could fire off 5. And, you know, nobody else in World War II really had anything that could compete with this.
Who said the greatest battle implement ever devised?
General Patton.
It was Patton, in speaking about the M1 Garand.
Right.
Yep.
So I figured we could probably throw a few rounds downrange. You know, we could show the difference between, you know, firing, you know, manually 5 rounds through versus 8 rounds semi-automatic, and, you know, it'll give people an idea of what kind of advancement there was between 1918 and 1936.
Sounds good. Let's do it. All right, Bob, how do I load this thing?
Well, you take your clip
Yeah?
and
Oh, it's got a little feed ramp right there.
right
I think
there,
you just shove it down in there, just like that.
just like that.
And then you
Dispose of your clip.
you
and-
eject that. Okay.
Right.
All right. Well, that was simple enough. Heck, even I could do it. Sasquatch could do it.
Sasquatch could do it.
Well, I'm going to try and hit that 100-yard gong here with this thing, Bob.
All right. find a piece of tannerite? Oh my God.
No, you blew something up, Bob. So the trigger on this has got a long, smooth creep, and then it gets hard. The smooth creep kind of reminds me of AK, but without the grittiness. But long and smooth, a military trigger basically.
Right.
And then a hard. You're gonna go boom if you go any further.
Nice shot.
I had to hit low center or aim. You know, these .6s have a considerable concussion and blast, Bob.
Whack, and you broke the gong.
I broke the gong. Well, you're gonna have to shoot it back down somehow.
Oh. All right. I can't even see it. There it is.
I see it. It's stuck up there.
Your gong is stuck up.
Gong. Poing. Let's see if I can knock that thing back down. The old thing's having a little bit of ejection trouble.
You did it!
Look at that. All right, Bob, is this where I learn M1 thumb?
Yeah, just keep your thumb out of the chamber when you're loading that thing. So you're gonna push that all the way down.
Okay.
And once it clicks into place, so you're almost in there all the way. There you go. Now just you can bump your operating rod forward.
Oh,
Ready to go.
got it. This thumb's still intact. See, this one's got owies, and I'm nervous. Makes me nervous.
I've experienced M1 thumb before.
Yeah.
It was not pleasant.
Yeah.
Took about 6 months for that thumbnail to grow back right.
This was rapid departure ratchet strap thumb. Not nearly as fun as M1 thumb. Hey.
But yeah, so that's just kind of a look at these old war horses. You know, this one was made in 1954. That's coming in 3 years before they quit making that.
Was that Korea? The Korean era, or
right? You know, it was just right at the very. You know, they were starting to get some conflict in Vietnam. You know, up into the early 60s and stuff. And there was a few of these that did get fielded into the early part of Vietnam, but mostly, you know, we supplied the South Vietnamese with M1 Garands and M1 carbines. So if you look back through the history books and stuff and look at the pictures of the South Vietnamese that we were supplying, you're going to see a lot of these in those photos. But then you had, you know, 1957 was the development of the AR-15, and that started to get in there, and they were using that during Vietnam.
you know, which actually fascinates me and kind of probably fascinates a lot of people that are new to the AR. When I first discovered that, I knew that it was Vietnam, but when I think Vietnam, I think early 70s is what I'm thinking, and so then that always just kind of correlated in my mind. But 1957 is bobby socks and tail fins and not black rifles in my mind. So it's amazing to see that the AR's been around for that long.
Look how scary the AR-15 is today to a lot of people. Imagine what that looked like 60 years ago, when people were first looking at that, that was space age.
Yeah, space rifle.
You know, you're gonna carry that thing up into Sputnik.
Right.
You know. Crazy stuff.
Here's the funny thing. If you have items that were originated in '57, you would find those in antique stores right now. That vintage and antique. The AR is still a modern sporting arm and very valid.
Yes.
But these are all still very valid. Both of these are both very valid weapons. That one's dang near 100 years old, and it can still defend somebody's life.
Absolutely, and that's where the great thing about the civilian marksmanship program plays in. Is you get the opportunity to purchase like weapons like these at cut rate prices, so you can learn to marksmanship and to protect yourself using vintage old workhorses like this that obviously still work today. So anyway, I think that's going to wrap up Walk Around a Gun Wood and Steel edition.
And y'all, if you got any input or conversations or questions or comments, go ahead and put those in the comment line below. We always enjoy the conversation. And give us a like and a subscription. You want to see some more Walk Around the Gun and more vintage stuff or any of the stuff that we do.
Yeah, I am not an expert on these, and some of my information is probably second and third hand, so if I was completely errant in my comments and stuff, please let me know below so I can try to rectify that in the future.
Hey, thanks for watching.
Like and subscribe. Yeah. How did Sasquatch like that? Oh, shit.
Oh.